Welcome to Worthy of Note, the podcast where one overthinking girlie shares her various musings about the world with the world. I'm your host, Lauren Carlton. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Worthy of Note. My name is Lauren. How's everybody doing today? I can tell you how I'm doing, which you can probably hear it. I'm sick as a dog. I'm so sick, and I don't even think. No. I'm gonna make a statement that could be a hot take or not. I don't know, but I think the period when you feel like you're getting sick, like the 2.5 days leading up to when you're you could just tell that some shit is awry in your body and your sinuses are just like sinusing and just in a terrible way. I think that's worse than actually being sick, because at least once you're actually sick, you're like, oh, like I'm at the worst, I'm at my peak, you know what I'm saying? Like I expected this, like it's, it didn't come at you out of nowhere. But the amount of terror, the amount of the level of apprehension, the level of caution, and just pure unadulterated fear that I've been feeling for the past like day and a half, 2 days has been just insurmountable for me. There's always something going on with me body wise. Like I'm either like I've got a cold, or I have fatigue, or my heart's palpitating for no reason. I have like a headache. Like it's just crazy, right? And one of my goals this year is to like try to like pay more attention to my body and listen to my body, because I think a lot of the times I tend to just ignore it, because I've like trained myself to just be like, it's fine. I don't need to take nothing. I got 102-degree fever. It's fine. All right. I'll just be a little toasty for a couple days. It's fine. But no, we're not going to do that. So I'm trying to be better about it, because, I have insurance now, and I'm able to, luckily access healthcare, and, am able to go to the doctor when I need to go to the doctor. Right. So, there's always something going on with me, but like probably one of the worst things is like when you feel a cold coming on, and it's like, I don't even know if that's the thing. It's like, it's just the mystery. And like, I love a good, mystery, but I'm talking about the novel. I don't like a mystery when it comes to my body, right? Like, no, I mean, if I'm trying to give off a mysterious vibe, that's one thing, but like, nah, when it comes to my nasal passages, we just got to get this shit figured out. So I literally, like, every single like sinus infection, or cold, or strep throat, or really anything, like all of it has or COVID sometimes, all of them have, like, as I've had COVID before, and all of these conditions have pretty much the same like rising action when it comes to me feeling like I'm getting sick. And like I have that telltale itch in my throat, I start getting a little stuffy, I start getting more mucus, and it's a lovely time. And so I'm just like, okay, like it could literally be anything. I'm like, okay, clearly I'm getting sick. But then there's like the random, very, very rare times where I like just had a little itch in my throat, and like it was gone in like 2 days, and I didn't really get much of anything. And I just like coughed and like was a little stuffy and never had a fever, which those are great times. Those feel like vacations. But which is sad to think about. But anyway, yeah, I like with those, like I'm just a lot like, I don't know, with any sort of like sickness of the like respiratory system, like it could be literally anything. And so I think for me, like the period when you're trying to figure out like what's wrong, and like you just feel something, is probably the scariest. It's worse than when you're actually sick and then you're like, well, I've been to urgent care. They gave me a little antibiotics, like it's going to be cleared up. Like it's shitty, yeah, but it's going to be cleared up. And like, we know what the issue is. I don't like not knowing. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Physically, my body is just a little bit, just a little bit rusty and crusty, but it's fine. I also am on my period. Luckily, I'm on like the last day or two of my period, so it's like fine. But girl, this week I was so upset. Like I was just like, here's the thing. I just don't understand why. And I could rant about this for hours. I won't. Okay. I've had enough this week, but like, I just don't understand why when we're on our periods, we get the most like emotionally just unhinged during this time. Like, and I'm not talking about like those like stereotypes of like, oh, she's PMSing. Like I hate that shit. Like I think that's really, really disrespectful to a very real experience that several people have, like half of the population of the world has, every month. I think that's just minimizing and very reductive. But it is true when I tell you, I was like horny to the point of oblivion. Like I was horny. I was like, Lord, sweet Jesus, forgive me. Like the whole day on Tuesday. And then the next day I'm like crying and want to slap somebody. And I just don't understand. Everyone has hormones. And they all act very differently. And mine especially are on some bullshit once a month, every month, and it's very, very unfortunate. So that's what I was dealing with this week. I will say though that some of my sadness this week, it's not completely rooted in like PMS. Sadness is not always like rooted in like complete like exaggerated non-issues, like I was feeling very lonely this week, like super duper lonely. I also have just been feeling like kind of like floating and like left out, mainly at work. And it's like my coworkers are great, but sometimes I just feel like I don't really have like a established like work buddy. When you spend like 40 plus hours of your week in a place, like sometimes you want to have that, but like I don't know, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm too much or I'm a burden, or like people don't actually want to talk to me. I love people. I love talking to people. I love making memories with people. Like I just love like hearing people's stories, like just like being in people's lives, you know what I mean? And I think for me, when it comes to work, it's really hard because I realize that like not everybody views the people that they work with as potential friendships. They are very much there for work and work only. And I understand that because I do think that a lot of people find that as to be like the best way or one of the easier ways to like establish a work-life balance. Like they don't want to be surrounded by like the people that they see in a work setting all the time and like remind them of that setting. But for me, like I see everybody as like as a friendship opportunity, and like everybody gonna be my friend. Like it's all fair game, none of y'all are safe, you know what I mean? But like I just feel like not everybody feels that way. So I think for me, I've slowly been starting to kind of realize that like I've been wanting to start a book club with I randomly mentioned it, I think a couple of months ago, just offhandedly, like let's do like a admissions book club, like that'd be so fun, and we actually have like started making like a Google Doc for it and everything. But I don't know, I feel like I don't want my coworkers to feel like it's an obligation to like do these things, and I don't want to be the only one putting in the effort. And I feel like a lot of times I am. Also, like I've texted a couple of times in our group chat that we have, and nobody likes the message. And it's so embarrassing for me. I don't know why, because it's not like it's happening like in real time, but like there have been, I can count like like vividly like 3 or 4 times recently where I've texted in the chat and like nobody's like and like not texted like something like simple like okay or yeah got it. Like I texted like, hey, I really enjoyed hanging out, we should do it again, you know, I hope everybody got home safe. Nothing. Zilch, zero crickets. Like it was cricket chirp chirp. Like it was bad, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's a no for hanging out again. And like I know that like not everything is personal, and like maybe they just truly don't get it. But I think for me, I am a lot more sensitive to stuff like that, and and it's not their fault that I read into everything, but I definitely was reading into those things. And I feel like when it's a pattern like that, it's just like, oh, maybe they don't actually want to be my friend. And like maybe they don't. And they like that's their prerogative. Like I realized that I am a lot more open and like more vulnerable naturally just because of the experiences that I've had. And I don't really have like a like core support system necessarily. I mean, I have people like, well, I have my like a couple of friends and then of course my sister, but for the most part, like I realized that a big thing for me, and maybe I'll talk about this in therapy probably later, a big like part of me yearns and like longs for and thrives on being like supported and loved and being with people, you know. And I think that is because of the experience that I have and the position that I'm in. So I understand though that like not everybody has that. Like not everybody's family is incredibly dysfunctional and estranged. Like not everybody is like that, which is great for them. I love that. What does that look like? Couldn't be me. Is not me. But like, you know, I get it. I think that's where a lot of it is coming from. It's like I genuinely do feel like it can be a blessing and a curse, because like on the one hand I'm super open and I want to be everybody's friend, but then on the other hand it's like I have to learn how to like read the room and be like, okay, well clearly they just want to be work friends, and that's totally fine. Like let's just stop trying basically. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I don't want to keep trying. I don't want to be the one who initiates everything, because then it kind of feels like for me it makes me look like desperate, and I don't want to come across that way. Like I do just genuinely think that my coworkers are really good people, and I just wish that like, you know, like I just wish that we did more things outside of work and like they actually also saw like a viable friendship with me as well. But sometimes they don't, and that still doesn't mean that I'm gonna like just not be like obviously super like kind and civil to them, because like I would be to anybody regardless. But I just don't know if like a like out of work friendship or anything beyond that is like in the cards, because you know, again, like people already have their own friends and stuff like that. And so it's just like an unfortunate truth that I feel like I have had to learn over the past year or two, and just learned the hard way. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're working with. Figuring out what I like is something that I've been wanting to do more and more over the previous few months, and just like learning moving forward. Because when you have, you know, 3 jobs, a full-time student, you know, working again like those 3 jobs and having 15 plus credits per semester, like for like 2 years straight basically, like there's not very much that you can really do outside of that time, because your time is spent working and doing all these other things. So outside of that, I would say I probably spent most of my free time like hanging out with other people, but I never really spent quality alone time. And I think that has been a detriment for me, because like it's been a blessing and a curse, because on the one hand it's like when I'm alone for too long, like sometimes I'll just like, well, inevitably just get in my head, and I'm like very very introspective, but like to a dangerous degree, where I'm like thinking about every single thing that has happened to me thus far in life, or like hyperfixating on one specific, interaction, and just not healthy, right? And sometimes, like when I'm doing like alone thing, like I'm alone, like it's fine, and I'm just watching a YouTube video and chilling. But just like being alone by myself with like no other form of stimulus or anything is just like not the best. But on the other hand, I would say like learning to be alone is something that I feel like is super valuable and that everybody needs to learn, because like at the end of the day, like you won't always, like you can have like as many friends as possible in the world, but you won't always have access to them 24/7. And so when you don't want to be alone, sometimes there is no other choice. And so I've been learning a lot about that, after graduating college, especially, and like not constantly being around people. Like even when I was like in college, like I lived in a dorm like all 4 years. So I was constantly surrounded by other people. Sometimes that was annoying as hell. All right. These little freshmen that I was having to RA for, I was like, y'all need to, first of all, your room stinks. I did your room checks and it looked like nobody in here washes between their ass. And that cup has been there for about the last 4 weeks, because it was there the last time when I came in here for a room check. All right. So no, disgusting. But I digress. But sometimes it was annoying, but like I still was like literally always surrounded by people, in a pool of people, if you will, during all my 3.5 years of college. So leaving college, even, I definitely it was a hard adjustment to like not seeing people all the time. And like being alone on the weekends and like not seeing people when I'm like going to take Benji out, or like, going to go get food. Like it was just weird. And so I think the really valuable thing about that is that like now I can kind of like figure out what I like, and like, in this whole journey, of like trying to become more self-actualized as a person, and being, all in tune and into myself. I'm like, this is also the perfect time to like figure out what I actually like, like hobby wise. I feel like ideologically I'm pretty set in stone with a lot of that stuff, but still like reading more, learning more, educating myself, like, learning what I like in different people, learning, because then like these things are going to help me when I'm like talking, like when I learning these things alone is going to help me when I do go out and talk to other people, and like know what to look for and what I value. And so that's definitely something that I have been wanting to do a lot recently, and like just in general. And I'm kind of like setting that intention for like moving forward, is just like learning what I want to do. I will say so far, I'm still figuring out what I like, and like things are always going to change, obviously. But I think there's some things that like I'm always going to really enjoy regardless. And I'm just going to list out a couple that I've like started like in recent months, become like super, super involved with, or like interested in. And most of them are hobbies. Some of them are like, different traits and stuff that I love in people or look for in a person. So it's going to be a little bit of a jumble. I'm just going to kind of randomly name them out because I don't have them listed or anything. I love podcasts. I've been getting into so many lately. That's really all I've been listening to. I have been getting more into podcasts, like more and more, probably like on an exponential rate, over this last, I would say, year and a half. My favorite podcast by far, and like one of the first ones I've ever really listened to regularly, is Emotionally Online by Maddie Drosbeck. I realized I think I mentioned I mentioned her in another episode of this pod, and I fully mispronounced her last name. I'm so sorry, Maddie, if you ever hear this, but it's Drosbeck last name. She does amazing content about like all things womanhood and dating and, you know, falling in love with yourself, and just, I just love her content. She's so, like, all of her work is so visually appealing and so, like, visually, so purposeful as well. Like, I feel like some people, like, they just be doing shit just to be doing shit. Like, they'll just, like, be like, oh, I'm just gonna put this effect on here because it looks cool, which is, like, totally their prerogative. But I feel like everything she does and everything that she edits together is a literal work of art. Like, it's so intentional, it's so well thought out, it's so beautiful. Oh, I love her. It's amazing. And she's been, like, super inspirational for me, like, even before I started listening to her podcast, like, just watching her YouTube videos, just awesome. But, like, she's great. That was probably one of the first pods I listened to. And then I started, like, branching out. I was like, well, I'm going through deconstruction from Christianity right now, so what are some deconstruction podcasts? And then I I found some, like, funny comedy ones that kind of help you deal with, like, low-key trauma, you know. So one is Go Home Bible, You're Drunk. Very funny. Basically it is these two, they're two, I don't know if they're still Christian, but I think one of them is, but the other one is, like, not anymore. But essentially they, like, go through stories in the Bible and, like, read verbatim from the Bible, and then basically just, like, talk about how just wild some of the stories are. And, like, I think some, like, verses and stuff, like, I don't really read the Bible anymore, but I do think there's some value to, like, some of the proverbs and stuff. Like, I think proverbs in general are basically just, like, mini fables, like little lessons for life, I guess. And then, like, maybe some of the Psalms, but the rest of it is just, like, bad shit. Do you know there's a woman in the Bible named JL? I want to say it's in Judges, actually. She nailed this is so graphic. She put a nail through a general's skull while the man was sleeping. He was snoozing. He was dreaming of a lovely place, and he went, probably, hopefully, I don't know, to a lovely place pretty expeditiously, okay, while he was sleeping, because this woman literally drove a tent peg through this man's head with a hammer. What? And, like, I'm very familiar with a lot of stories from the Bible, because I grew up in the church, and so, like, you know, from a super young age, we got those little storybook Bibles, and then we upgraded to, you know, the big girl Bibles with, you know, the actual scriptures and stuff. Like, I know a crap ton. There's so much more where that came from, of, like, just insane stories, just, like, unhinged, just diabolical stories. And so it is fun and kind of cathartic to, like, go back and listen to them from an adult perspective, and from someone who is, like, kind of detached from that sort of phase and, like, ideology of, like, of life that I was living in, and, like, just, like, kind of laugh and be like, what the hell is this? I believe this is crazy. No offense or, like, shade to anybody else who is Christian or any other belief. But I mean, I still know people who are Christians, and I still am friends with people who are Christians, so it's fine. But there is it's just objectively insane stuff coming out of the Bible. And it's wild, as someone who has read the Bible several times. So yeah, I love that podcast. Those are probably the two main ones that I was listening to. And then now I've started getting into, like, movie review podcasts. So I really love, like I said, if you listen to last week's episode, do your homework. Okay. It is graded. Okay. But last week I talked about my obsession, my never ending obsession with the Hunger Games, and I have been listening to and consuming so much content about the Hunger Games, like third-party content, like, you know, analysis, like character analysis, and, like, you know, ranking, like, the different villains and, like, the different characters, and, YouTube videos about it, but like I especially have been listening to movie podcasts, like a podcast about it and like reviewing it and like, you know, people's first reactions to it, comparing it to the book and like the movie in the books. And that put me down another rabbit hole that I'm so grateful that I, dug up into. But it is, I listened to this one podcast. I've been like obsessed with them and have added so many of their episodes to my playlist, to my fun eps playlist. Cause I have a fun eps playlist and then I have one that's like for self-improvement and like, loving yourself and like ones that you probably would cry in the car to, because you're like, oh my God, I do love myself. Like, just like, pep talk, those ones. So in a separate playlist. But these are the fun eps. And one podcast I've been obsessed with for like the last 2 weeks is Romancing the Pod. It's like, it's this, oh my God, I love rom-coms. I love romantic movies. I love the drama. I love the love. I love the sex. And not all of them have to have it, but like when they do, but yeah, I love all that. I love it. Give it to me. And so I like have been listening to this podcast where basically these three friends pick a movie every week, a romantic movie every week specifically, and they dissect it. They talk about their feelings on it. A lot of them usually haven't seen the movie or even heard of it. And they'll like basically review it, and then they'll talk about the box office, like what it did at its time and like compared to how big it is now. And like, it's just, it's so good. So I love that one. But yeah, I'm really into podcasts, and I don't think that's going to go away. So I definitely had to mention that. Another thing, I'm really into paint by numbers. I love paint by numbers. I just finished one, and I started it over winter break. So like almost 4 weeks ago, and I just finished it like 2 days ago. And I love it a lot. I might post a picture of it. I don't know. But it's really pretty. And then I'm starting on another one. So I love like adult paint by numbers. So it's like, the squares are a little bit smaller, and like it just turns out to look so good. Shout out to Simple Painting. They're like the company that I ordered from. They have some really cool, like realistic looking paint by numbers, and obsessed. A couple of other things that I like. This is what I like in people. It's like a trait, willingness to talk and to also listen. Like if you're talking for a really long time, you shouldn't be talking for like an insane amount of time. Like it shouldn't be a whole monologue. It's a dialogue, not a monologue, not a soliloquy. Come on now, you are not Shakespeare. And so you should be letting another person talk when you're in a conversation. But when you're just like saying like a few words and you're just like in a conversation, if a person is like looking off to the side, or if they're just like clearly, if they're on their phone, that's like a big pet peeve of mine. I just feel like I'm just like my words don't mean anything, and then therefore by proxy I don't really mean much to the person. And there's just been a lot of times, obviously, like there are people who like don't do well with eye contact. Like I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who like very clearly are checked out and they don't care about what you have to say. And I used to entertain a lot of friendships like that, where I like clearly felt like I wasn't being listened to, or like I was actively listening the whole time and like constantly being the giver and giving advice, giving love, giving all these things, and like barely getting anything in return. And so I think one of my like things that I love in another person, figuring out what I like, kind of going along with that, is people who are attentive in like every way, not even just listening, but just with like, texting and being like, hey, like I remember you told me that you had this test today. I'm not in school anymore, but that you had this test today. How did it go? Or like, hey, I hope, just like texting throughout, like during the day, be like, hey, bestie, I hope you're having a good day. Or like, be safe on the roads out there. It's really slick and snowy. Like, and I don't know if that's just because that's the way that I show love, and that's why I also would like, but I don't know. I just think like being attentive in general is like something that I really love in people. I also really enjoy people who are like, just like, and like, this is just like a thing. Like, you don't have to be this in order to like be friends with me or anything like that, or be in my life. But like, people who are like really unintentionally funny, I think it's the funniest thing in the world. Some of the best like comedians, or just people like comedians in real life, um, are just unintentionally funny, and I think it's so funny. It's so endearing. It's amazing. Some hobbies that I love as well. I'm trying to get into crocheting right now. The box has not been opened. The needle is still in the package, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. This is the year. Okay. Crocheting. I'm really trying to get in touch with my creative side, hence this podcast. This has for sure been one of my favorite things to do. Ever since I started it, and even beforehand, like planning for it has been really fun. Making the artwork has been really fun. Just getting more in touch with that creative juice, getting it all flowy and all, juicy. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like learning more things. I really love cooking. I really love baking, like trying new things, trying to take myself out on dates, and like do fun stuff for myself, and within reason and within the budget. I love driving around and like not doing, like just like looking at things and playing with my dog Benji, which I do every day, so it's like one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, I'm currently in a state where I'm just trying to figure out the things that I love and the things that I like, and I think a lot of them have been set in stone and are just like naturally come to me, but like setting them up and actually really taking the time to think about them and really solidify them, I think is, going to be really fun. And, I think mind opening, is that the word? I feel like, yeah, mind opening? Eye opening. What? Mind opening? That sounds like I'm talking about mushrooms. Sounds like I'm talking about the drogas. Anyway, no. Eye-opening experience. And I'm really excited about it. So yeah. Also, I feel like I used to base a lot of my likes on my friends because I was really insecure. That's a word. That's a real word. That kind of went a little too hard. But yeah, I used to like be like, I want these people to like me so badly that I'm just only going to like what they like, and I'm going to dive so deep into liking this specific music or this specific artist or this specific hobby that I don't even know if I like. I just know that this person likes it, and I know that I want this person to like me, so I'm going to therefore like this thing. So that's super unhealthy. So I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no, I'm going to like what I like because of me. And like, so this is like one of the first times that I've actually come to that, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure it out. So yeah, I'm excited to do it, and I can't wait to see what else I like and figure out what else I like. There's so many other things that I definitely didn't mention, but I just, off the top of my head, those are the ones that I've really been excited about recently. And like, I don't know, I'm just, I can't wait. We do have an Am I the Asshole post to read today. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my boyfriend's food on his birthday and getting him banned from a restaurant? Okay. I, 18 female, have been dating my boyfriend, let's call him John, for a little under a year. We have a pretty toxic free relationship, but there's quite a bit of tension when it comes to me being vegetarian. I've been vegetarian since 11, and I have very strict morals around it. The one thing John has a problem with is me refusing to spend my money on meat. Ever since I started making my own money, I swore to myself that I would never spend a cent of it on meat. On our dates, we usually split the bill, and sometimes he pays for it all. I told him if he orders something meat-free, I'd happily pay for both of us, but he never does. When he pays for my food, it's when I've spent money on the activity. Normally concerts and festivals. That's me paying $120+ on tickets and him spending maybe $50 on food. His birthday was a few days ago, and we went out for dinner at his favorite fancy restaurant. He got the most expensive steak they had along with a side salad and a bottle of wine. When we finished our food, I asked the waiter to split the bill, and John looked at me shocked. He asked if I was joking, and I said no. Then he told me he thought I was going to pay because it's his birthday and he didn't budget for the meal. Girl, why are you not budgeting it? Okay. I asked him why he thought I'd pay, since I've been very clear about my role, but he couldn't give me a reason other than it being his birthday. I told him I'd pay for the wine and the side salad, but he would need to pay for the steak. He was furious with me and stormed off to the bathroom. I paid for my meal, the wine, and the salad, and waited for him to come back. He did not. After waiting for 20 minutes, I left. I found him sitting on a bench near where we parked the car. I asked him why he left and reminded him that he needs to pay. He looked shocked when I said that and asked me if I didn't pay. I told him I'd paid for everything but the meat, and he lost it. He started yelling at me, telling me I was selfish, that I needed to grow up. I stayed calm and told him he needed to go back and pay, and he scoffed and walked away. I ended up driving home without him. Now he's saying it's my fault that he can't show his face in his favorite restaurant since he dined and ditched. It's a pretty small restaurant, so he'd 100% be recognized and kicked out. So, am I the asshole? Okay. I think I might have just been talking about this the other day about like the sense of moral responsibility that people feel when it comes to being vegan and or vegetarian. So I feel like this is like something that is fresh in my mind. So that's why I picked it, because I was like, this is interesting. So here's the thing. I believe that people have their own, everybody is their own person. Everybody is their own individual. They all have their own prerogatives, their own individual, views and moral codes that they can go by, and it's fine. I think that is their prerogative. It is pretty morally neutral to, do most things. Obviously, there's the law and like murder and stuff, like don't do that, okay, obviously, but like for the most part everybody has their own like words to live by, or their own convictions, or their own, that was a very Christianese word to use, but everybody has their own personal differences and personal opinions of things, which is fine. That's what makes us all people. Okay, when it comes to dietary restrictions and or preferences, I feel like very similarly with certain ideologies and certain other opinions, those are not to be pushed on another person, right? So I believe that it is totally fine for you to commit to not eating meat, and for you to be like, I'm not eating meat because of this reason, or because of no reason, just because I don't want to eat meat. But usually there is a reason, right? This person's reason, clearly it is because they don't believe in, animal cruelty. They don't want to eat meat, or they just, it doesn't make them feel good. They don't want to contribute to the meat industry, which is fine, right? I think where this becomes an issue is when you're in a relationship with someone who does something or participates in something that you feel in your heart is morally incorrect and or reprehensible, right? I think this person, she's literally said, I will never contribute to the meat industry. If this conviction is strong enough for you to not do that and to be so incredibly strict about it, I feel like you might want to find another person who is like-minded in that regard and who also supports you fully in that pursuit and in that decision not to eat meat and not to pay for meat at all, right? It honestly sounds like you guys are incompatible. Like, and I think it's interesting because like there are literally people who are two different religions who are able to make things work. There are people who are two very there, which I don't think this should work personally. I don't think, but there are people who are, of two different political ideologies who somehow are able to make things work. People, like, you're not going to be like the exact clone of whoever it is that you are romantically involved with, or whoever it is that you are platonically involved with, like, because that would be boring as hell. Like, none of us would be like unique or special or anything, because we wouldn't have our own opinions. But I think when it comes to something to where it's like it will impact your daily life, like you are not buying meat for this person. What if, and I'm not going to be that what if person, but I am, okay. I love the hypothetical. What if this person, forgot their card, or they, were sick and they needed to get chicken soup or something like that. If your conviction is to a point where you would not do that for that person, then I think at that point it's time to evaluate whether or not you think it's a viable relationship, because you are so dead and again, I hope I don't sound like I'm like judging or demonizing this person. Go off, sis. Like, this is completely your decision. I do think, I will say, like, it's very difficult to navigate, because and it is a little questionable, because it sounds like she said she's a vegetarian, not a vegan. And if you are still drinking milk products and you're still, dairy products and stuff like that, like, I'm sorry, babes, but you're still contributing to the animal cruelty. Like, I'm so sorry. But, like, milk cows go through shit too, even if they're not for meat. So, like, yeah, like, I think it's damn near impossible to not contribute to some form of like evil capitalism, just as a person who exists in the world, right? And I don't think there's any ethical consumption under capitalism. That being said, I do think we should hold the people who are accountable. That being said, I do think we should hold the people who are accountable, or who should be held accountable. So that means like all the corporations, all the billionaires, all this other stuff. Like, I do believe all those things, right? That being said, like, it is your prerogative to not want to do as much as you possibly can to not contribute to the meat industry. That's fine. But if you think that it is a moral failure that other people are eating this meat or are contributing to it, which it doesn't sound like you do, but it kind of seems like it's getting to a point where it's looking that way, to where you won't pay for a meal for somebody. I feel like at that point it's like, I don't know, because if you think about it, have you ever like contributed to like an office piggy bank or something, and like they're like, hey guys, we're gonna go get pizza with this, if everybody wants to chip in $5? Have you ever done that before? And then they got pepperoni pizza. You have contributed to you've contributed to the meat industry, like, just like stuff like that. I feel like micromanaging it to that point, it's just like, at that point, just don't, like, you can have the personal conviction. I think that's great. I think everybody should have their own personal convictions, but it's like, when it gets involved in your when your relationship is like failing because of it, or when your relationship is affected to this extent because of it, I think that's when you really have to sit back and consider some things. And the fact that it was on his birthday, like, come on, it was on his birthday. Like, it's not, again, it doesn't matter. That doesn't exclude, like, you I get it, but I can understand why he'd be a little bit upset, just because, you're going out to celebrate him, and it does seem like it would be implied, at least, that, that person would be paying, especially since you're like doing this big thing for him. You're paying for his wine and his salad and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think you're the asshole. I don't think he's the asshole either. I hate to say it, because usually the men are always the asshole in this situation, but I think he is the asshole for yelling at you. He should never yell at you. I will walk right away. I will walk into the sun and never to be seen again. If somebody yells at me, no, I'm not taking that. but like he should not have done that. He could have paid, right? Like, and he should also be prepared. So I don't think anybody's the asshole in this situation. I do think though that you do genuinely need to have a genuine conversation about whether or not this is something that is going to impact your relationship, because it seems like it's starting to. Maybe initially it wasn't, but I mean, it's getting to a point where it is becoming a bigger issue. So I would look into that. That's all I have for you guys today. I really enjoyed doing this episode. If you guys want to make suggestions, like or comment and subscribe to all this stuff, go follow me at Worthy of Note Pod on Instagram, or follow my own, personal account at Lauren J. Carlton, if you will. It's right there. It's in the same app. You don't even have to, you don't even have to go to a different place. Like, please just do it. And yeah, stay tuned for next week, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.